Lesson 11 continues now as we go on to the next suit. This is the series where we're comparing our regular playing cards for cartomancy or fortune telling. I've been teaching fortune telling and card reading with regular playing cards, and now we're comparing it to a Rider Tarot deck. And so we have swords, and we have the number 1, which is the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords, this is in the element of air. The last series that we went through was clubs. That was the element of earth. This is our next black card. So we went from earth to air. When you're doing readings with regular tarot cards, it gets a little busy and there's a lot going on with all of the cards beside each other. So sometimes it's really good to just remember that it's black, that it's a sword. This is a number 2, and it's in the element of air. Swords are our communicator cards. Swords are up in the air. Sometimes it brings good news. Sometimes it stings just a little bit. Change is always good, even if we're not too thrilled with it to start with. It's a black card. It's a 3. It's a sword in the element of air. Now this is the Rider deck, and some of you have different types of tarot cards, which is fine. This is the older, more traditional deck. This is what I was taught on. And so for the 4, we have the element of air, the number 4, with a black sword, which of course we also call spades. So spades are swords. Energy is moving up with our 5. We remember this guy from the last lesson and what he was up to. Just remember, sometimes swords are in the air, sometimes they're on the ground. Sort of like wands, it really depends how they reflect their action in their element. And so the energy is moving up in a 5. You know me, I always do that wagon wheels rolling forward symbol for a 5. Now here we have the 6 and the 7. In this particular one, we have our vessel here. Off they go. Don't worry about the art too much. If you're reading your description book for your tarot cards, you're just learning that a 6 is a black card in the element of air, and that spades are a sword. Same with 7. Spades are a sword. Now it is one of those 2 rows things with one opposing, or one central, I should say, figure there. Now this guy's having a great day. He's off and jolly. Off he goes. But he's a trickster, so watch out for the 7 of swords in the element of air. Kind of a rough day here with number 8 with our Roman numerals, the 5 with the -3. And so swords are spades. This is an 8 in the element of air. 9. Oh my, the energy's getting more intense. But it's not always bad news. Sometimes we just have to contemplate and get grounded. This has to do with communication, of course. We call this the 5th chakra element in air, and it is connected to earth. And so 9 of swords is a black card. 10 of spades or swords. Dun, dun, dun. It's about as intense as it gets. We would call that a transformation, wouldn't we? We sometimes say that about the Ace of Spades. And so this would be the phoenix rising from the ashes opportunity here. Doesn't mean that somebody's necessarily going to die. And that's why I like regular playing cards the way my great-grandmother did it, as opposed to tarot cards, which are fine, but it's just so interpretive as far as the pictures go. So a 10 is the highest numerical sword in the element of air. In the last part of this, when we had the clubs, we talked about how the page and the knight are very similar. I didn't want to get rid of one to have the other because we're working our way up to the queen and the king. And so this is when I say that I sort of combine the 2. And this is our messenger, our communicator. Sometimes it's the knave. Sometimes I talk about it being a brotherly figure. It could, of course, be a sisterly figure as well. And so it's the juvenile to the queen and king in the element of air. It's a black card, though he is blonde and fair. We look here at these guys. They both have their swords up in the air. Even just having two hands holding it versus one hand holding it and all of that has great symbolism. And so here is the queen and the king. She now is facing the king. With our wands, we had the king facing the queen. And so this means that they're listening to each other, that she does have some power. They definitely work together as a team in the element of air. And these represent real people in the querent's life, the king and queen of swords.